guys.
Hello.
We wanted to pop in this evening and do a quick video kind of talking about our embryo results from the embryologist for days 6 and 7. If you watched our last video that we posted, we talked about our experience in days 1 through 5. So if you want to check that out, I'll have that linked, like up here, down there, wherever you can go and click on it. Speaking of clicking on things, if you like, we'd love for you to subscribe to our channel so you can hang out with us some more when we post more videos of our journey here and hopefully one day our family and all of the lifestyle things that happen in between. So, yeah.
Click like.
Click subscribe. Hit the notification bell. Like is great too. And if you're on Instagram and you're bored, I'm over there, but he's not.
True that.
So our day 5 results were that we had none to freeze. They said we're gonna check on day 6 and day 7. So we got an update on day 6. I can't remember how many they said froze on day 6. So on day 6, we had gotten the update from the embryologist that 7 had developed enough that they were at the blastocyst stage and they were like hatching. So they were able to like biopsy them and then freeze them, put them on ice, and then wait until day 7 when they could see if there was any more, so we could have all of the genetic samples together all at once to send off for pre-implantation genetic screening, also known as PGS testing. So on day 7, how many embryos do we have total?
11.
We had 11 embryos. So we had 4 more develop between day 6 and day 7. And basically what they told us was that even though the embryos made it to day 6 or 7, really their development was that of a 5-day embryo, so it's just lagging behind. So whenever it comes time to transfer them, they were just going to treat them like 5-day embryos. So we got samples of all of our 11, and we were so relieved because we had started with 31 eggs, 29 mature, 24 fertilized, and as the days had gone on, like things were not looking great, and then they kind of went back up again, and they were just decreasing in huge numbers. They weren't dividing properly, and like it was just really disappointing. So to get news that really of 24 fertilized, we had 11 that made it to freeze, we were like, whew, we're hopefully never gonna have to do this egg retrieval again because that's more children than we would ever want. And, hopefully we wouldn't need all of them.
Yep. So
sent it off for genetic testing, and this was Wednesday. Yeah, because Wednesday was a week after we did the thing. So Thursday, the genetic samples had got sent off to Invitae, which was the lab that our genetic samples went to. We got the bill for Invitae. We paid it like that night within a couple of hours of receiving it. So we're like, let's get this rolling here. And something important was that the cost for embryology to do the samples for genetic testing was covered by our insurance. But off the bat, the cost from the people who do the actual testing of the samples in Invitae was not covered under insurance. So we just had to front that cost. I'm going to try to submit a letter and the bill over to our insurance to attempt to be reimbursed for it. We're just kind of assuming that's not going to happen, but we would like for it to be happening. We're going to try our best for it. So anyway, the cost for 11 embryos ended up being $1,050. I can't speak today. The cost was
$1,500.
$1,500. And that was like the first 8 embryos were $150 a piece, and then each embryo thereafter, so for us that was 3 additional embryos, was they gave you a reduced price, which I didn't know was a thing. So those were $100 a piece for the final 3. So it was $1,200 for 8 and then $300 for the other 3. So yeah, it's expensive, but completely worth it, just to not put back any genetically abnormal embryos, which has been really important to us through this whole journey.
Yep.
Something we should say is that throughout our time, we had a miscarriage. Okay, before we even used fertility medication, like at the very start of our journey when we started trying to conceive, there were several months there in the beginning that I was like, I really feel like stuff is happening here. I feel like this is taken. This is not in my head. Like, I don't normally feel like this. And then, like, my period would come early, like a couple days early out of nowhere. And that has never really happened to me ever. So we had that. Then my period, like, stopped. And then we started taking fertility medication. And we conceived the second month using that. And we lost the pregnancy. And we went in at a 9-week ultrasound. And they said, basically, at some point there was a heartbeat, but it had stopped because it wouldn't have developed as far as it had. But at that point there was no heartbeat. So miscarriage for that one. And then we tried another 3 months of medications after that at the start of 2019. Nothing really happened there for us. And then we had a spontaneous, like, ectopic pregnancy last June 2019. And that was abnormal in nature as well. So we've had 2 losses with abnormal pregnancies. And then there were several months, like I said, somewhere in this process that I felt like things did take, but then things were likely abnormal and they just didn't continue forward. So it was really important to us, like, to do the genetic testing so we wouldn't be putting back abnormal cells, which could potentially make me very sick. And we'd have to emotionally / physically also go through another loss. And that was like, if we're going this far and we're doing IVF, we're going all the way for the healthiest possible chance for us to conceive. So that is our reason for choosing PGS testing. Other people choose not to for their own reasons. So we got back our genetic results a week later. We actually had our friends visiting from Australia here at the time when we got the call from our fertility doctor, and she called us, and it was not amazing news in my opinion. It was actually really, really disappointing and kind of scared me because I was like, oh god, are we gonna have to do another egg retrieval in the future? And the egg retrieval is just so fresh still in my mind, and like just the thought of it's like really upsetting. It's kind of lessening as the weeks go on, but yeah, so we had 7 abnormal out of 11, which leaves 4 in the normal and viable category. And of the 7 that were abnormal, really there's 1 that's potentially compatible with life, really potentially, but there's truly 6 that are like totally incompatible with life. It's late, by the way. He's had a long day. Forgive his yawning. It usually is when we film. So yeah, at that point we just asked the genders of the abnormal embryos, and we didn't want to know the genders of the 4 normal embryos. I did ask if they were a mix of male and female, just to know, like, do we have a shot of having either one as a surprise? And she said yes, it is a mixture of male and female. We didn't find out what the mixture is,
right,
if it's 2 and 2 or 1 and 3, but there's a mixture.
It's a mixture.
What do you think it is?
I think it's 2 and 2.
I think it's 1 and 3. But yeah, so of the abnormal 7, we had 5 males and 2 females. So it was predominantly male in the abnormal category, which doesn't make it any more likely, or I mean, it's total luck of the draw. So all of our abnormalities were entirely different.
There was no constant.
Yeah, it wasn't like every time.
Pattern.
Yeah, there was no pattern, there was no nothing. And our doctor did say, like, I'm surprised to see so much abnormality based on your guys' age. I'm 35 and you're 32. Took me a minute. 32. Yeah. Biscuit. You look like you're up to no good. Yeah, so she said, based on your guys' ages, I just didn't expect to see this many abnormal embryos come out of your cycle. Which was kind of discouraging, but also kind of validating, because we're like, okay, this does give reason for
Why
like
some
this.
other things happen.
yeah, this has been happening to us. It's just the way it is. And when I went to another doctor's appointment recently and asked the doctor, I said, do you see this mostly from people with egg quality issues or as a mixture of a couple? Like, what's the most common cause for this? And the doctor had said the overarching theme is that it's typically an egg quality issue, but sometimes it's the couples. And he said majority of the time it's an egg quality issue. And through research on the internet, because the internet is such a great place, you can't really change that. I can't do anything to affect that. It's not like I can just take more vitamins and I'll magically be better. So that's kind of discouraging that we may just always have these kinds of odds. So some of the things that were wrong was we had a male that was missing a chromosome on number 13, and every human being is made out of 46 total chromosomes, which is 23 sets. The 23rd set tells you if you're male or female, and the other ones you need to just have a matching pair. One chromosome for me, one chromosome for him for every single pair in the 26 sets. Like, imagine 26 pairs of socks, right? You need to match the socks up for everything to be fine. And if you're missing a sock or you have an extra sock, something's a little funny there. So we had a male that was missing a chromosome on number 13. We had a female that had complex abnormalities, meaning like multiple things wrong. Like, she said it's typically 2 or 3 abnormalities total at least. So there were some chromosomes that was missing here, or additional ones here, or just extra ones all along the way. They didn't really list out what that was. We had a male that had an additional chromosome on number 13. So the first one was missing one, and then we had that one that has an additional one. Then we had a male that had an additional chromosome on number 2. We had a female that was missing a chromosome on number 22, and then a male missing, there was a partial deletion on chromosome 22. Like a sequence of DNA was just missing altogether. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then we have one male chromosome that is a mosaic. And I'm not 100% sure on mosaics. There's some kind of abnormality there. Something with chromosome 16. We're counting it in the category of like abnormalities. It didn't register as just a genetically normal. So we probably will not be using that one or exploring that further. So we have 4 genetically normal in the mix. How do you feel about that?
I'm excited. I'm excited for our 4.
I'm excited for our 4 too, but I'm so sad for all the other ones.
Focus on the positive.
Yeah.
We've got 4 good ones.
Yeah, we're gonna give them their best shot.
We've got 4 really good ones.
We do. And of the 4 that we have, we should say the grading, because our clinic just does numbers 1 through 4 for grading. So 1 is excellent, 2 is good, 3 is fair, and 4 is poor. So we have 2 number 1s and 2 number 2s. So we basically have 2 A's and 2 B's, you know, if you're thinking about grades. So we don't know, again, the genders that go assigned with those. When it comes time to do a transfer, we're just going to let the embryologist go eeny, meeny, miny, mo.
Well, they said they usually try to pick the best one.
They pick the best one, but we have 2 grade 1s, so it's entirely up to them. And I don't know if it's 1 boy, 1 girl, and what that embryologist preference is going to be, but they're just going to go eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Yep. So, yeah, that was our outcome of PGS testing. I can't imagine having 11 embryos and thinking we've got 11 chances, not that we would use 11 embryos, but you never know, like things could just not take, and then just repeatedly putting in embryos that were like genetically abnormal. Because basically we had like a 75% chance based on these odds that we were going to be putting back something that could potentially be harmful to me or the baby, and again, we'd have to go through the emotional, physical pain of going through all that. So yeah, eliminating that possibility. In terms of statistics for the embryos, the doctors said that they're between like 55 to 70% chance, and then the other doctor said like, oh, 70% for a grade 1 embryo. So
I was interested in the fact that I guess I thought they would have told us that it would be better for us to put 2 embryos back in at one time, and I thought they had actually told us that before, but on the phone call this time they said no, after the testing we now know these are good ones, so your success rate is higher when you put 1 in.
yeah, and they said that's because something could go wrong with one of them and then affect the viability of the other one.
Yep.
So they're saying like just give a single embryo its best chance, which has not been our plan the whole time, but also our plan wasn't to end up with as few embryos as we have. You okay there, Buster? Don't be yakking over in the corner. Yeah, our plan wasn't to end up with as few embryos as we have either. So, you know, our plan is not to just have one child.
Yeah.
And to think like, okay, if I put 1 in and it goes badly, and then if I put another one, and like, I just feel like I could go through all these embryos
No,
so
they
quickly.
They said 70%. It's a 70% success rate with the 1 embryo after it's been
Well,
tested.
then 3 out of 4 of these better stick, so I don't have to
Exactly.
do this again.
Then we're there.
Oh, I'm not getting any younger. Yeah. So, also your rates for like successfully carrying a pregnancy has to do with your age range as well. So like I'm getting older, and
What?
if we, I know, shocking. So like if we get pregnant the first time that we transfer an embryo, and then obviously have a pregnancy, and then we do whatever, it's gonna be a while before I use those embryos again, which means I'm older. So in terms of carrying a pregnancy, like I have less great odds, and I have so few embryos. That's basically how I feel, but yeah. So not quite how I wanted it to turn out, but we do have viable embryos that we're gonna proceed forward with. So
Yep.
there's that.
There's that.
All right. Well, we'll update you guys again in the future about transfers and what that all is going to look like for us. But for now, this is where we leave off.
Yep.
All right, guys. Have a great day.
Have a good night.
Bye.